Hello, everyone. I'm Toby Blue. Welcome to Proof of Concept.
And I'm Jason Rabinowitz. This show is brought to you by the Tasting Alliance, home to the world's most prestigious and respected spirits competitions, including the San Francisco, New York, Asia, and Latin America World Spirits competitions.
The Tasting Alliance was founded by my father, Anthony Dias Blue, a pioneer who believed true craftsmanship deserves to be celebrated and that passion and integrity should always define excellence. That spirit lives on through the makers we feature here.
In each episode, we share the journeys of visionaries pushing for something extraordinary. Even the word proof, rooted in 16th century tests of a spirit's strength, reminds us that every great idea needs evidence it can work.
But at its core, Proof of Concept isn't just about spirits. It's about spirit. Dreaming big, taking risks, and building something meaningful. From grain to glass to gold, actually double gold to be more precise. These are the stories of trials, tribulations, and ultimately triumph.
So whether you love whiskey, gin, tequila, or simply the power of perseverance, you're in the right place.
This is Proof of Concept.
We dedicate this series to my father-in-law and Toby's father, Anthony Dias Blue, whose passion and pursuit of excellence continue to guide and inspire us. We've got a great one for you today, a story that captures the entrepreneurial spirit of this show perfectly. Our guest today is Marc Farrell, founder of 10 to 1 Rum, a brand that's redefining what modern rum can be. Born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, Marc moved to the United States for college at the age of 16. He entered MIT, marking the beginning of a career defined by ambition, intellect, and entrepreneurial drive.
After MIT, he went on to earn advanced degrees from Cambridge and Harvard and held early roles in finance and consulting. He then joined Starbucks Coffee Company, where he became the youngest vice president in the company's history, overseeing e-commerce, U.S. retail lobby, and beverage innovation. Despite corporate success, Marc felt a strong pull back to his roots, to Caribbean culture, rum heritage, and the idea of reimagining what rum could be. That vision led him to found 10 to 1. With a mission to challenge expectations of rum, grounded in a pan-Caribbean blending philosophy that is combining rums from Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, and the Dominican Republic, with no additives or adulterations of any kind, no added sugar, no coloring, no flavoring.
And the name 10 to 1 is itself meaningful, inspired by a phrase from Trinidad and Tobago's first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams. 1 from 10 leaves 0, which spoke to the idea that 10 united Caribbean nations are stronger together than apart.
Under his leadership, the brand has rapidly earned accolades, positioning itself as a modern, elevated rum brand rooted in authentic Caribbean identity. Those awards including the following distinctions under the Tasting Alliance banner, a collection of the most prestigious and respected spirits competitions in the world. 10 to 1 White Rum earned double gold medals at each of the 2023, 2024, and 2025 San Francisco World Spirits competitions. Additionally, it was awarded platinum in 2025 and best of class in 2023.
10 to 1 Dark Rum won gold medals at each of the 2023, 24, and 25 San Francisco World Spirits competitions and best of class finalist in 2025. 10 to 1 5 Origin Select Rum won gold in 2024, double gold in 2025, and a best of class finalist in 2025 at the San Francisco World Spirits competition.
And finally, breathlessly, 10 to 1, the brand, received the Distill Changemaker Award at the Tasting Alliance's Top Shelf event in 2024.
Marc's story is about pride, purpose, and perseverance, about building something that's not just a product, but a movement. And we'll be diving into all of that with him today. So settle in, pour yourself something you love, and let's get started. Welcome, Marc. Thank you for joining us.
What's
today.
up? What's up, gents?
What's up?
Good to see you both. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're coming off of a big day today.
Well, they're all big days.
Yeah?
You know? Yeah. They're all big days. One foot over the next. You know, I would say trying to build a little business, build a little bit of a brand. So yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. But good to spend the time with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here. Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up on the island of Trinidad and Tobago. I guess it's 2 islands, one country. But mom's from Tobago, dad's from Trinidad.
Oh,
you know,
so you really have the both.
yeah,
both
yeah,
in the
yeah,
pedigree.
exactly. Got to claim sort of equal billing in my life. But
Sure.
but born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, as you mentioned at the top, you know, spent the first 16 years or so of my life there. You know, all the formative years, moments, and memories that I think in a lot of ways begin to crystallize who you are, the things you value, what you believe in. I'm a long way away from 16 at this point.
Yeah,
Talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
26, 27 years ago now. But still very much grounded in you know, my Caribbean heritage and Caribbean culture. Most of my family's still at home there today as well.
Incredible. And tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, my family, my pride and joy, inspiration in many ways. They're really kind of the battery pack that have powered me to,
Wow.
you know, I think kind of have these dreams and get out into the wider world with a plan to achieve them. You know, I always kind of tell people that if in my mind, if I had something akin to a family motto, it would be this idea of standing on the shoulders of those who came before you.
Amen.
You know, never knew my granddads. They both died before I was born. But my grandmothers, two incredible ladies who, you know, quite literally sort of put their families on their backs and gave my aunts, uncles, of course, my parents, you know, kind of a chance to elevate and to be successful. Extremely hardworking folks. Very close to a number of my aunts and uncles as well, who are at home in Trinidad. My cousins function as an extended set of siblings, basically.
Yeah.
But my nuclear family, an incredible dad, my dad Terrence, my mom Sandra, who's a warrior, a stalwart.
Shout out Terrence and Sandra.
Exactly. Shout out Terry and Sandra. Make sure they get their shout outs. And I have a twin sister.
Oh, no
amazing.
kidding.
Yeah, I have a twin sister. So we live very different lives.
Sure.
She's in the UK, doctor, neurologist. You know, 2 little kids who are my besties. Yeah.
So how did you get to MIT? How did that?
Good question. How did I get there? I don't know.
At 16, no less.
At 16, yeah.
That's like an accolade even at 18, 20, whatever age you get, but to get in there early.
Yeah, that's all the credit goes to those guys. To be honest, you know, I think
To Terrence and Sandra.
yeah, to Terry and Sandra, the credit goes to them.
Yeah.
You know, I think they instilled in my sister and I this belief very early on that, you know, you can really do anything, and not to be super super like woo woo or super metaphorical about it, but like we just kind of grew up believing that there was no platform too big or no task that was impossible. I remember being a kid, you know, 10, 11, 12 years old. Our parents took us on like a motivational trip to Cambridge University in England, which is where my sister went. And I then went there later on for my master's. We talked about some of the venerable institutions in the US that could make sense later on. And just, you know, being consistent and putting in the effort and the focus to give yourself a chance to get there. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, and the 16-year-old thing, I was young for my class as a 4 or 5 year old.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you kind of like go through life where all of your friends are
Or a
2 and 3
year older,
years.
yeah.
2 and 3 years older
Yeah,
than you. You know,
okay.
so honestly, it wasn't even a thing that registered in my own head.
Right.
People thought it was kind of nuts when I got there, but yeah, just
What
part of
did
the
you
journey.
study there?
Studied chemical engineering.
No kidding.
Yeah, chemical engineering. Which, by the way, you know, you think about sort of life full circle, right? Comes back around when you think about something like rum. Whenever I do a tasting, we'll do a tasting in a bit and talk about some of the esters and the volatiles and the notes that come to life. I mean, there's a little bit of that magic. I mean, there aren't too many folks, I think, who are MIT chemical engineering alums in the rum game.
Sure.
But since we're here, we might as well just, you know, have it come in a little bit handy.
I remember Toby's dad had a book about whiskey. It was all chemistry. Yeah. And it was all just like different chemicals you get out of the barrel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, all the entire process, right, of making spirits, right? You're taking some sort of like some sort of complex carb, a sugar, effectively. You're adding yeast, which ferments it, converts it into alcohol. How you choose to distill it, ultimately, like your chosen sort of barrel aging methodology. All of those things are just decision points that you make along the way. They're all science.
I have a few more just quick follow-up questions on this. Do you think about the chemistry as you're blending or in that? Like, Does that come into play in 10 to 1?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think in 10 to 1, probably the most discernible, most consumer-facing way that comes into play is when you think about our perspective on this combination of different distillation methods. So pot still versus column still living alongside each other. I always tell people if I'm doing a tasting that, pot still rums, they tend to be higher in esters, higher in volatiles. So if you think about taking the cap off of that bottle for a second, right? And some of those notes will immediately sort of like arrest you.
That's the esters?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In this case, a lot of the esters and the volatiles that come off the top first. And so I'll kind of point you to some of the grassier notes in the white rum or some of the banana peel notes in the dark rum. And I'll say that thing that you're picking up first, right? A lot of that comes from the esters of the Jamaican rum. So that's probably the most, again, sort of easily identifiable kind of consumer-facing version of it.
Yeah,
But of course, like it's all part of the chemistry.
Wow.
So you left school and you went into consulting. And we're going to go a little bit past that to your experience at Starbucks. You had the opportunity to meet Howard Schultz. He became a mentor to you. You
That's
became the
incredible.
youngest VP at Starbucks. Tell us a little bit about Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks was an incredible experience. I think you have these sort of formative moments, chapters in your personal and or professional journeys, right? I can't tell people this whole youngest VP thing has become a little bit of folklore, which is always funny to hear it. But what I would say is actually, if you go before I even got to Starbucks, I happened to get there at a moment in time where I think we can all sort of identify mentors in our respective lives who maybe believed in you even more than you believed in yourself at that moment in time. Howard was incredible and gave me an opportunity there. My boss at the time as well, a lady called Sharon Rothstein, was the CMO at Starbucks. She's still a very close mentor, friend, actually board member, and all of those things today. And so, kind of having those folks there to kind of shine a light for you and show you, help you to understand a little bit of how it's really done, was incredibly helpful. I think Starbucks is a business and a brand. A lot of people don't think that there's a lot that Fortune 500 Seattle-based coffee company will have in common with Caribbean-inspired, New York-headquartered startup rum company on the face of it. But actually, there are a lot of points of inspiration that I took from that. Namely, I always talk about understanding what it looks like to have a very clear sense of brand purpose, clear sense of brand discipline. What you will and won't do, what you do and don't stand for. Howard was incredible at that. I think his kind of energy and his storytelling, the lore of all things Starbucks was super infectious. It's the only way that you can have, if you think about how incredible it is, that you could have, it was 30,000 nodes, 30,000 stores at that time. It's probably 40,000 now. I don't know, I've left a long time. But and each of them, somehow I've been able to pull a little piece of that DNA right into each of those store experiences. I think that was a big credit to him and of course the overall ecosystem that Starbucks was able to create. So, I think about that experience almost as like a little bit of a finishing school for me. Gave me a different perspective on certain things. Even, by the way, the idea of creating blends for 10 to 1, right? You think about coffee, right? A lot of the nomenclature is actually quite similar. Are you doing a single origin? Are you doing a blend? Where in the roast curve do you live? Actually, there are a lot of cousins that you can pull from coffee and from other elements of the food and bev spectrum that you can bring to the world of spirit. So, a really, really great experience and one that I was super grateful for.
When and how did the idea for 10 to 1 spark?
It's a great question. The idea for 10 to 1, I think, as I'm sure you would find with many entrepreneurs, the earlier idea comes to your mind, then it kind of recedes for a bit, then it comes back in a different form, and at some point it kind of just taps you on the shoulder so frequently that you can't ignore it and you have to do something about it.
Was the early idea, I want to take rum and rebrand it and make it change the story?
Yes, it was. That was there from the beginning because, I had a close friend of mine, also a co-founder of 10 to 1, his name's Zach Waxel, Jewish kid from Montclair, New Jersey, right? As in, he has nothing to do with rum or Caribbean culture. He had come down to Trinidad to visit me and my family. This must have been in 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. And I remember him remarking at how different that experience was from anything that he had seen and experienced, I think around spirits in general, but certainly around rum. I think the consumer here in the US ends up with a very narrow view of what they think rum is and the culture around it and when it's enjoyed. He was there, we were there New Year's Eve. My grandmother was alive at the time. All my aunts and uncles, cousins were all hanging out. And like, you think about sort of rum being core to all of these moments of celebration. I talk about it all the time with 10 to 1. And he experienced that. And just kind of like seeing how somebody from the outside in, experienced it, enjoyed it, internalized it, interpreted it. That actually was kind of the origin story. And so he and I would have these conversations every summer. Like, I'd bring a bottle of like one of my favorite rums. He'd bring a bottle that he found. We'd go back and forth on it. All our boys are drinking tequila at that point. But like that was kind of the early impetus and the early genesis of the journey.
And it's sort of like the nomenclature around rum, some of the symbolism. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because it was sort of like dragons and just different kind of symbolism around it, and it was perceived mostly as sort of a vacation.
Captain and Coke.
Yes.
Daiquiri.
A daiquiri.
Beach.
Yeah. Well, but we'll come back to the daiquiri in a second.
Yeah.
Daiquiri is a great example. As I tell people, if you look at rum and tequila, right? 20 years ago, when I was on spring break, you'd see. Yeah, I'll tell you some stories. But 20 years ago, when I was on spring break, there would be sort of two in the frozen machine. There were two hoppers, right? One of them was
The margarita.
the frozen margarita, right? Which now has kind of jumped the shark. Any sexy downtown spot you go to in New York or Chicago or Atlanta has a margarita on the menu. It's a more elevated cocktail. Certainly sipping tequilas have come to the fore. And the other one was that like frozen strawberry daiquiri, right? And by the way, if you go to any spot here we're in New York, we're filming, you go to any Michelin star spot, any craft cocktail spot, ask the bartender what their favorite cocktail is. It's a daiquiri. Daiquiri is actually the simplest, most elegant cocktail you can create. It's 3 ingredients. It's rum, 10 to 1, with a little bit of citrus and a little bit of simple. That is the cocktail itself. But it's been bastardized over time. And, I think folks have kind of departed from a more authentic sort of reflection of what that cocktail is meant to represent. And I think back to your question, Toby, it's much the same for rum as a category. You've kind of ended up with this fairly sort of narrow, reductive view of what rum is meant to be. It's a lot of, a lot of treasure maps and a lot of sea monsters and a lot of fables and a couple plantations. And it's just, I say it every time I speak. So if anybody's heard me speak before, I'll be like repeating this in their head. But like my belief is Caribbean people have no shortage of exceptional stories to tell. And so in a way, like 10 to 1 isn't even doing anything that crazy. We're just trying to like pull those stories to the fore, celebrate them as authentically as possible. I always tell people, there is no single source of truth where this is concerned. I don't think there's one Caribbean story and I'm telling that story. No. I'm just trying to carry a little bit of water for our culture as best as I can, as best as we can, and do that through the lens that is 10 to 1.
So what was the first major obstacle you faced in bringing 10 to 1 to life?
Oh my God, the first major obstacle, the first of 6,426 of them. Launching anything in the world of startups, but certainly in consumer and then let alone in spirits is not for the faint of heart. So that always kind of is worth mentioning. I think the earliest hurdles were more around just like, okay, you're gonna start a rum company.
Yeah, this is 2014.
This is 2017. We started working on the concept, right? Kind of in the shadows.
After the shoulder tapping grew too loud.
Exactly. After the shoulder tapping. Yeah, all right. God damn it. All right, let's go make a rum. And then we launched the brand in 2019.
Wow.
So about a year and a half of kind of gestation. Those early challenges were around. Okay, so how do you where are you going to bottle it? How are you going to distribute it? Just like the blocking and tackling of kind of getting going in market. I think the more the more foundational challenge I think is like even once you've kind of gotten through all of those steps and you're kind of quite literally at the starting line, right? Our very first account was Coat. Michelin star Korean spot here in New York.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Like the Korean. Oh my God, that's I can't get in there. I'm done.
I got you. I'll make a call.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Simon, if you're hearing this, you gotta get our guy into court. We gotta do it ASAP. But
I've been dying to go.
No, but those guys are family. They're incredible. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's a very fitting first account, not just because the people there are fantastic. They honor the craft. They're exceptionally talented, including their beverage program, Victoria, Sandre, Bo, all those guys. But if you think about what Cote's doing, Simon has been successful in taking a specific interpretation of like Korean food, Korean culture. Think about how he's thinking about like Korean barbecue, and he's elevated it, right? Brought that to the fore in a Michelin star kind of a way. I think in a lot of ways that's kind of what we've been aspiring to do with 10 to 1. So anyway, I was bringing that up just to say that, you know, you those early days, I like delivered the first 2 cases of 10 to 1 ever were like under my 2 arms, right? Delivered them by hand. And you're trying to just quite literally figure out how you can get away and how you can get a look in this very crowded, very cutthroat, very challenging industry, right? I think it's those early origin days of the brand that were some of the hardest.
Can you share a mistake or early misstep that ended up being a crucial learning experience?
Yeah. How much time we got for this? 3 hours?
However much.
Is that a separate episode? You know, side note as I answer that question, I think like as an entrepreneur, you have to get comfortable with the fact that you're going to get more things wrong than you are right.
Right.
And I think it's your ability to kind of respond to those quickly, right? Pivot, take the learning and move forward. That kind of, I think, will define your success. But one of our early learnings, I think like many other entrepreneurs, especially in this space, biting off more than you can chew. I think, you know, we launched in New York, first market, biggest market, still our best market today. It's our HQ, it's our home, it's our backyard. There's a way you can go about things in that vein that you can't if you're in Atlanta, which is a very good market for us. I'm just picking another city. Sure. But I think in those kind of early days when you're still trying to figure out what works in one market, it's better to make as many mistakes as possible in one market versus multiplying it in a number of them at the same time. And we, like sense. Everyone else, I say that on this podcast so confidently, like it's so clear and so obvious, but like, let's be real, like 100% definitely made that mistake when we were first getting the brand off the ground.
Got it. Yeah. What was the first breakthrough moment when you realized this wasn't just an idea, but a real movement?
You know, it's always the moments when, you know, it's like in the beginning, the only people who know about it are like the people who you told about it, right? Like your cousin drinks it, you know, your girlfriend, your best friend, whatever, right? And I remember standing up at a bar in the East Village, and we were probably like 2 months old, we were pretty new, and this dude saddled up at the bar, and he was like, "Hey, let me get a 10 to 1 on the rocks," and I was like, "You want a 10 to 1?" It's like, "Sorry, dude, like." Can you just tell me, like, how do you know about that rum? He's like, "Oh, yeah, that rum's amazing, man. You got to try it. You want me to buy you one? Like, I heard the story. I met the founder, whatever. I'm like, wait, I'm the founder. You know?
You're full of shit.
You know? But that's dope, you know? And so, like, a little bit of that sort of folklore. I would say that was, like, a reflection on the liquid side, but it's particularly meaningful when people have, like, like Caribbean heritage or Caribbean affinity will come up to you and tell you that like the thing that you're doing means something, right? I think for me and for us with 10 to 1, the goal has always been sort of these dual paths. I want to have this exceptional, globally acclaimed, world-class liquid sitting alongside an authentic, compelling, contemporary brand story that like matters to people. You're building real community around it. And when I get those taps on the shoulder now, I think they're particularly gratifying.
Amazing. So that brings me to the question, you know, you started in 2019. By a couple years later, you had won double gold at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. What did that represent for your brand?
That was a big deal. I'm not like being dead serious. You know, like I remember, we entered because remember, so 2019, we launched the brand in like June of 2019. Okay. So we didn't enter any awards in 2019. We were pretty new then. 2020 was the COVID year. Yeah. Right? So almost like a redshirt year for the brand. And then 2021, you're kind of back out there in the wild trying to really sort of build this thing. And, I'd heard about the San Francisco World Spirits Awards. Everybody said like that's the holy grail. And, you kind of, as with other things in your life, you kind of set your sights on achieving something. I'm like, yeah, like those guys need to know that 10 to 1's like amazing, you know, how white, how dark, and all of that stuff. And so, entering, I think maybe 22 or 23 was the first year that we entered, right? And to get that recognition was incredible. I think that for anybody in spirits, for a brand like 10 to 1, liquid credibility is super important, right? As we would say in Trinidad, like the rum can't hide. I lead with the rum, and then I'll give you the story and the brand, everything else behind it. Not like, here's a brand and here's a fun party, and maybe you like the liquid at the end. So for us, that liquid credibility is super important. And even more so because it's rum as a category, right? Like, it's a category a lot of people maybe aren't as familiar with, isn't top of mind from in the same way.
You're also trying to change the story around it. So that is the story.
Exactly.
It has to be
exactly.
like,
Exceptional
take this
liquid
serious.
can go stand shoulder to shoulder, go toe to toe with like any other liquid. Yeah, in the rum category for sure. Double gold, platinum, best in class. But also like put it up against your favorite bourbon, your favorite tequila, your favorite mezcal, you know? And so it really was I think a critical sort of coming of age moment for the brand. I think allows you to kind of get out there and market with some additional confidence that, like, yeah, the thing that you have really is the best.
Incredible. We've had a chance to speak before, and I just love how you talk about the journey of redefining and really creating a platform for rum that didn't heretofore exist. Where are you in that process?
Yeah.
Of creating a platform for rum?
Or the changing of the story.
Yeah. You know, not as far as I want to be. Sure. I'll tell you that. This is like hard. It's hard work out there. You know, and
can you even identify the steps that you would want to go? Like I sitting here totally outside of this, I wouldn't know how to even define the steps of changing that story.
Yeah, I think
it seems huge.
Well, I think like the steps to change it, and then the signals so that you know that it's working, right? You know, I think for us, for example, if you look at the basket of accounts the 10 to 1 is in today, you know, any Michelin star spot, you know, you go to top craft cocktail spot, you know, they're all gonna 10 to 1 is usually or often the rum of record in those spaces. And by the way, some of that
good rubric.
That's a good rubric.
Yeah.
And some of that, yes, is competition vis-a-vis like other rums, but to Toby's kind of question, you know, it's also the fact that in a lot of those spaces, you know, maybe they're like building their menus with like tequilas, mezcals, and bourbons, and now all of a sudden you've elbowed in into the equation, and you've gotten a little space for 10 to 1, but also for rum. I think whenever we see a different level of comfort being reflected by consumers, it's like, you know, it's a really interesting experiment. You could put 3 bottles of any rum, but 10 to 1 up on that table, next to like 2 bottles of tequila, and you almost like you watch how people approach the 2 different products. And some folks who are just less familiar with rum almost kind of have there's like a physical kind of caution that they have as they approach it, because like, well, so like, how do I mix it? Like, what am I supposed to drink it with? Is it a cocktail? Is it neat? Is it like, there's very fundamental foundational questions. And so getting to a place where now you hear more and more people just talk about like, yo, like, it's not even rum, like 10 to 1's that's my drink of choice, right? And they know how to drink it, and they know what their favorites are, and they're recommending those favorites to others. Yo, my buddy just put me on to so and so. That's how you know you're getting little bits of breakthrough in there.
It's also, I mean, the packaging, the form factor, the modern minimal aesthetic. Just takes it to a level that
it's classy.
That rum has never been taken before, and that's...
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. You know, we wanted to kind of shatter this perception that, like, you know, you need a treasure map or something on there for it to reference the Caribbean. You could do something that's like very elegant, very elevated, and actually, if you kind of break down sort of the design of the logo is the Scarlet Ibis, the national bird of Trinidad. The font is taken from our old Independence postage stamp. The side labels reference old shipping labels from the days of sugarcane making its way from the Caribbean.
The stories on the bottle.
The stories on the bottle, right? I say that
so cool.
Every element of this brand from the beginning has been intentional, and you can get into a why around anything we've done, design wise, liquid wise, market wise. I mean, you name it. We really tried to be very intentional.
Intentional is one of my favorite words. Yeah. I love how it sounds, and I love what it means.
Yeah. It's an intentional word. You know? Yeah.
Yes, very much. Can you walk us through the balance between tradition and creativity when developing blends like your aged dark rum or the 5 Origin Select?
For sure. I actually, you said tradition and creativity. I'll kind of use a slightly different take, but it's exactly the same. I often say that 10 to 1 is a brand that lives at the intersection of heritage and innovation. Like you imagine some cross streets in New York, right? Like heritage and innovation, that's where the brand lives. I think that there's a level of deference and a level of respect that you have to apply to any craft, right? I hear entrepreneurs sometimes, not just in spirits, in general, they speak so dismissively of the past. Whoever came before, they had a shit way of doing it, right? That didn't make sense, so I'm just doing it,
Right.
and it's better.
It's common trope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And we're all on a path to improve, but I think there's so many lessons you can take from what's come before you. And so we've always been a brand that's, I think, I try to be very deferential, very respectful of that, understand process, understand sort of how and where that's resonated with consumers or not, and then figure out how you're going to pull that forward into the future. And that's where the innovation or the creativity piece, as you said, comes into play. And I think that if you can then begin to put your own spin on the craft, whether it's with our dark or 5 version, etc., it'll resonate that much more because people feel like it's grounded in a particular place.
Did you do a lot of tasting to find your own voice in the liquid?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
If you look at the bottles, for example, the dark rum will say there's a little number in it. It says 12 FW TTO04. It was the 12th blend that we created. F for Farrell, W for Waxler, my buddy that I mentioned earlier, TTO, and there's 4 rums in the blend. So it was the 12th blend that we created. And, if you guys had tried blends 1, 2, or 3, we wouldn't be sitting and having this conversation,
Right.
So it's a continuous process of, it's quite literally iterative, and a sense of improvement along the way. And I remember when we were kind of close to the end and we were tasting, we had kind of blend 10 and blend 11. Those the 2 finalists. And so we did a bigger tasting. I had maybe 30 friends come out and they were tasting kind of what we had. And everybody was like blend number 10 was the winner. 10's the winner. 10's the winner. 10's the winner. But by the way, 10's the best. But there's something about 11 that's kind of interesting. But 10's the winner.
Hence 12.
It's yeah, exactly. It's everybody kept on walking. Oh, yeah, 10's great. But something cool about 11. It's what's in 11? What's in 11?
So fascinating.
But you know what it was? Back to your earlier question. It was the pot still Jamaican rum. That's what it was. It's just something about the kind of the character that it brought to the fore that I think was really compelling for folks. And so what did I do? Went back to the lab, proverbially. We pulled out the pot still, added it to 10. That became 12, and that's the winner.
This brings me to a question about the mixing process.
I have
for
so
you,
many questions too.
Which also includes going to Holland.
Right.
Correct.
That was my next question.
And the history and the old concept of the Dutch East Indian Trading Company.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the easiest place to kind of ground that is, I always tell people,
colonialism.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah. But rum was made for export before there were rum brands, right? You think about plantation class, plantation culture, all of that stuff, right? Rum really being a byproduct of the sugar refining process. Molasses a byproduct of that sugar refining process. That ends up effectively being your mash, right? For rums that you make in the English and Spanish-speaking Caribbean. In the French-speaking Caribbean, they use agricole, sugarcane juice, right? But so those are the origins, right? And so you had rum that was being created there of great value. And I'm not sure what quality, but of great value. And making its way to a place like Amsterdam, port city, nexus hub for all of that trade. And so, you have these folks who have kind of been there in the rum game for
500 years?
300 years.
Yeah,
300 years
yeah.
at this point. And so kind of part of that story, right?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How do you balance growth with authenticity, especially as you expand into new markets?
I'm not sure that's it's a good question. I was going to say, I'm not sure that's a balancing act because to me, authenticity is kind of at our core. Back to some of the lessons you learn them along the way, right? I mean, whether it's from Starbucks or my time at Bain or whatever, where it's if you lose the soul of, who and what you are, then you really kind of have nothing, right? it's hard to imagine a 10-to-1 story without its authenticity. Like what else would we be doing?
Right.
So for me, it's less a balancing act, and it's more about I think continuing to kind of challenge yourself to bring that to the fore in new and interesting and exciting ways. You talked about sort of tradition and creativity. I said heritage and innovation. I think those are more the pedals in my mind. But authenticity is like so deeply rooted in the brand at this point that I don't think it ever kind of goes away.
Incredible. Well,
Yeah, I'm curious. Well, so literally our next question is, are there new blends, collaborations, or creative projects on the horizon that are exciting for you? And I want to add an addendum. Are you ever interested perhaps in production?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
So things in the pipeline, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Always.
There are two questions.
You know,
right?
I love innovation. We love innovation. So, we have our core range, the white, the dark, the 5 origin you guys see here. We also have a range, we call it our cask select series. So we've done like an Oloroso sherry cask. We did a collaboration with Uncle Nearest a few years ago, finished in Tennessee whiskey casks.
Wow.
Those are before San Francisco days, as we should have entered it too. We have a reserve series with like rums that are 18, 20, 17, 18, 26-year-old rums we've brought to market. And we have some other stuff in the pipeline for next year. So yes, there's always something coming. I think you have to kind of give people new story, new innovation, keep on challenging their perception of what rum can be, and like the innovation pipeline is a big part of doing that.
Yeah,
you know?
That makes sense.
Then when I get into production, never say never.
Right.
Not right now. I have a long list of headaches as it currently stands.
Sure.
You know, and I think we've you go back to the 10-to-1 origin story, right? Our origin story is about this idea of the beauty in the blend. The best of the Caribbean in a single bottle, right? That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm creating. And I think that's sort of where the core of the brand will remain.
How do you see the rum category evolving, and what role do you hope 10-to-1 plays in that?
Hopefully a prominent role. How do I see it evolving? I want to see it. I want to see it grow up a little bit, and I want to see it take on a little bit of additional kind of breadth and depth, right? Quite literally, you know. I look on a little jealously at sort of what's happened in tequila.
Right.
You know, so many of the spirits categories have had their own little
Mezcal,
renaissance moments.
sure,
Yeah. Mezcal, by the way, if you're looking at what class of spirits drinkers most over-index for 10-to-1, it's mezcal drinkers. Unsurprising, right? They love craft, they're curious, they value the story, all of those elements. Like 10-to-1 is very much in that wheelhouse, but we have tons of tequila drinkers, tons of American whiskey drinkers. In fact, about 70% of 10-to-1 consumers come from other categories, right? We've done a really nice job of recruiting folks who have been, you know, on their back bar is usually a tequila, a mezcal, a bourbon, and a vodka, right? Or a rye, or whatever the case is. So for rum, I think it's like kind of having this dream that we will be part of ushering in a similar renaissance.
So
for
when
the category.
competitors come, that's a sign of success.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. One thing we are is not sort of closed-minded, closed off to the idea of like more entrance, more competition. I think that like getting to a place where there are more folks out there beating the drum in harmony is actually going to be a net win for the category.
Sure.
Don't feel like you're out there kind of doing it by yourself.
Right,
So
right.
So yeah, 100%. So I think more depth, more breadth, a sense of comfort that consumers have with rum, an excitement to engage and explore the category. And I've always said that, you know, when people ask me, what does success look like? You know, 5 years from now, you know, you guys friends in San Francisco or DC or, you know, Lincoln, Nebraska, walk in and they see those bottles and they're like, yo, remember we used to think about rum as X, right? And now we see it differently. Yeah. Hopefully 10-to-1 is kind of front and center where that shift in narrative is concerned.
How has building 10-to-1 changed you personally?
Well, I had no gray hairs. I got a lot of gray hairs, so there's that. I'm still smiling miraculously, so that's been good. How has it changed me? You know, some ways a ton, in some ways not at all. You know, I think like at my core, I'm still the same person. You know, entrepreneurship is hard. for anyone, anytime, anywhere. Certainly doing that in spirits. The roller coaster that anyone's had to ride in and around spirits, from, just before COVID to like the world shutting down to like super cycle to like,
It's a crazy time to be born.
Yeah. It's like living like 4 different lives with a business over the course of 6 years. But how has it changed me? I think it has steeled my resolve. Again, to really kind of ground yourself in the things that you believe in and be willing to stay the course. I take things less personally now. I used to get so, as you'd imagine, I'd be like so upset if somebody didn't want to try my rum or didn't want to like, oh, I don't drink rum, I don't do this, I don't do that, and like take it personally.
Right.
Now it's almost like, listen, dude. I mean, I want you to try it. I'm not being flippant. I want people to drink the rum. So if you're listening, please go get the rum and drink it. But I'm saying you have to be kind of. I talk about
You
this.
don't take it personally.
Well, I talk about this idea of cultural confidence, and I got that from Mia Mottley, the Barbados Prime Minister. She talks about like Caribbean people needing to kind of build this sense of cultural confidence, this belief that the thing that you have, that the thing that you're creating, again, can stand shoulder to shoulder with anything else in the world, right? And so if you have that, it kind of changes the way that you approach that type of situation. Listen, I have a thing. It's global class. It's excellent. I know you're gonna love it. If you decide you're not gonna drink it, that's on you.
Right.
But I'm not gonna be shrinking in the face of or so disquieted because of that. So I think I have a slightly thicker skin now, more comfort with kind of what we're doing and why we're doing it. I always loved my culture, and I mean, part of the reason why you start this is because you think there's a big opportunity to, again, storytell around that. But I think it's only fanned the flames that much more, having done this for now 5-6 years.
Do you have anything that you would want to tell your younger self? Any that you picked up along the way?
It's like,
what advice would that be that you would tell your younger self?
Get some more sleep. I'd say that. So get some rest, buddy.
Right.
I'll give him some advice for the stock market as well. I'll probably see if I can do that.
Fair.
Yeah. Couple ex-girlfriends. Gotta say sorry to them. I don't know. A few things. But no, in the context of the business, what advice would I give him? That's a good question. I would actually probably tell him it's okay to be even more narrow and more focused than you think you're being. It's like when you think you're being super focused, like you can still cut it in half and be that much more focused.
Wow.
Just be super, super pointed, it's hard to do as an entrepreneur. There's just like there's a sense that like you have to be doing multiple things, whether it's multiple markets like we discussed before, or different ways in from a marketing perspective, or trying to please multiple people, or whatever it is. But like take whatever you're doing and cut it in half. That's probably what I would have said.
That's really hard. That discipline. You
Super
hear
hard.
that a lot about focus and narrowing your gaze.
Yeah.
Are you speaking in terms of like task management and project management, or are you just like
Just vision.
Yeah, and just and prioritization. Prioritization, yeah.
All right, so we're going to go into a little rapid fire now.
All right.
You ready for that? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Go to 10-1 cocktail.
Ooh, okay. So right now it is a white Negroni with 10-1 white rum.
That sounds
like
so
it's,
good.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Historically, like I love old fashioned with the dark. I love a daiquiri, but right now white Negroni with 10-1 white.
so like Campari vermouth?
No.
equal.
So that'd be like a Kingston Negroni with Campari. That's a rum Negroni. White Negroni, you're using like a Blanc vermouth, you're using 10-1 white, and then you use like some sort of gentian. So like Suze, for example, is what a lot of people would use. That's kind of your combo for a white Negroni.
Amazing.
Yeah.
If 10-1 could be paired with one dish forever, what would it be?
Damn, dude, that's hard. That's like a last meal kind of question. Okay, am I pairing it with my favorite food, or am I pairing it with like what I think it goes best with?
Your choice.
I'll give you.
It's rapid fire, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm pairing it with my favorite food, then I'm just kind of doing like macaroni pie from Trinidad and like maybe some jerk chicken or actually some curry goat would be amazing. Those would go pretty well. I'll make a nice like citrus forward bright cocktail. Actually, a daiquiri with something like that actually would be great. In terms of everyday pairings, I think. Either the dark or the 5 origin with anything that's like in that sort of creme brulee, baking spice kind of space. So a great dessert pairing would be ideal.
Wildest or most creative way you've seen someone use 10 to 1?
That's a good one.
I haven't answered that question. Who's listening here?
Kids, listen.
What? Yeah. Right. Hey kids. So no. Why?
In a cocktail.
Yeah,
We
cocktail.
should-
Yeah, cocktail. No, like I've seen like the guys at the Aviary do some really cool. I mean, their program is global class, right? And like they've done a lot of truffle infusions with 10 to 1 that have been really, really phenomenal. You'll see a lot of bartenders who might do like a fat wash or something unique to kind of like bring it to life that way. I'd say probably that, either like a fat wash or an infusion, truffle or otherwise.
Truffles. Wow.
First drink you ever ordered at a bar?
In my life,
Yeah.
Mom, sorry. When I was 21, I had well, in Trinidad you can drink at 18, but well, okay, so I'm gonna tell you what it was, but I'm gonna because I tell the truth, but I'm gonna like quickly like X it out. It was a rum and coke, right? Because in Trinidad, as in many other places, like the rum and coke thing is that's your coming of age drink,
RNC.
Right? That's right. So
That was my first drink.
Yeah,
And it was Bacardi.
Listen, I say it sheepishly because so much of my crusade is like you're trying to undo the thing. It's like so much of my crusade is to get people to understand that like it's not a rum and coke game, I don't want you to mix 10 to 1 with coke. I think like we do what we call the origin serve, so like clean, elegant mixers, soda water, tonic water, coconut water, maintain the integrity of the rum. But I didn't know those kinds of things back then, so it was a rum and coke. Yeah.
Okay. Last great book, podcast, or show you couldn't stop thinking about?
Ooh, last great book, podcast, or show. I mean, Black Swan's my forever favorite as a book.
Huh.
I just think reframing this sense of kind of uncertainty and how it ties to your view of like the world around you and risk and how events happen. I think to me it like offers a level of kind of humility to the way that you kind of think about the world and process the world. So
Wow.
Black Swan's my go-to
Great
favorite.
answer.
No
That's a
kidding.
great
Yeah.
answer.
Dream person, living or dead, to share a 10 to 1 cocktail with.
Dream person living or dead to share a 10 to 1 cocktail with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one.
A tough one. Mandela, I think.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's this thing, pouring a drink, a couple of big rocks, you sit down, you take a sip, you relax, and you start. And that's what Lyman in the Caribbean is about, right? Like this act of just like, it's us hanging out, socializing, getting together. And you take that sip and like the edge comes off and you just start to kind of go into story, lore, history. Could you imagine sitting down with that guy to understand like where he came from, the things that he did? I mean, that would just be incredible. So I think that'd be my number one.
One word that describes the 10 to 1 journey so far.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary. And like intentional, I mean, you can use that to mean lots of different things. Extraordinary does not mean that it's all been good. Actually, there's been a lot of bumps on the road, but I think, again, like a little bit of gratitude for seeing that you've been able to create something that has a bit of meaning and has a bit of like sort of gravitas and weight to it. We've had a lot of amazing things happen on the journey, and so I'd say exceptional.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we have a tradition, this being one episode.
It's a new tradition.
This is our new tradition.
Where the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who that is.
Okay.
And the previous guest asked, what personally drives you?
Oh, what personally drives me? Well, I'll tell you what personally drives me and where it comes from. What personally drives me is to be the very best version of myself that I can be. And I want to do what drives me to do that. Actually, my family and my community more broadly because of it. I think like I fight this battle with myself all the time. And I was talking to a close friend of mine earlier this morning. I was just saying, I feel like there's this like bigger, better version of myself that like makes an appearance every so often, and you know he's in there because you see him come out or you see her come out from time to time. It's just like, I want that version of me to be here all the time, you know, and I can do more, and I think, like, you know, 10 to 1 in a lot of ways, for better or for worse, is an extension of me and who I am and the things that I believe in. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that just drives me, you know, keep on running through walls. And why do I do that? You know, back to what I said about that motto piece, you know, standing on the shoulders of those who came before you. Yeah. I owe it to people who've invested in me and poured into me. And by the way, even beyond my family, you know, I'm still really close today with my first teacher, my Montessori school teacher, Auntie Gail, when I was 2. You know, 40 years later, we're still super close. Like, that lady believed in me, and, like, you know, you can, I can feel it today. Like, it's so visceral. 40 years in the past and it's still there. People have, like, just poured into me so much and given me so many incredible gifts. I just want to be great. You know,
super exceptional.
Okay, so a question that you want to leave the next guest.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys put me on the spot, man. Answer all your rapid fire stuff, man.
Now you gotta.
Question for the next guest. Okay, I have 2. You guys can decide which one you want to use. Okay. One of them would be more category, one would be more personal. So, if you had a magic wand, if you could wave a magic wand today, and wish anything into existence for 2026, in the spirits category, what would it be? I'll leave that as a question. And then maybe one that's backward looking, which is a little bit more about, like, you know, who has been the single most influential figure on your journey to date, and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Maybe I should start a podcast. Amazing.
We welcome the competition.
No competition. No. I'm just like, give me another seat there.
This is another thing I learned about from you. Like, thus far, the founders have all been like, poke holes in everything. I don't want to be the smartest person here. I have a growth mindset. I have a learning mindset, and I'm not afraid of.
Gotta do it.
Yeah.
Gotta do it.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's way good.
Listen, Marc, thank you so much for being here.
Very much a pleasure.
For all the success you've had within the Tasting Alliance sphere, we congratulate you, and you've built something that's extraordinary.
I appreciate that. Long may it last. And I mean, thanks to you guys for all the work that you've done and for helping to highlight a little bit of the 10 to 1 story.
Yeah. All right.
What an incredible conversation. Marc's story is such a powerful reminder that sometimes the boldest thing you can do is to challenge the narrative, to take something steeped in history and reimagine it for the future.
I love how Marc talked about building 10 to 1 not just as a rum brand, but as a platform, like celebrating Caribbean culture and unity and creativity and pushing the boundaries of what other people expect from the spirit.
Yeah, it's really that mix of heritage and innovation that really defines what proof of concept is all about. Honoring where you come from, but daring to do it your own way.
Once again, a huge thank you to Marc Farrell for joining us and sharing his vision. If you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to please like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow the Tasting Alliance on Instagram for updates on the world's top spirits and the people redefining what it means to create with intention. A special thank you to the Tasting Alliance team, Amanda, Maddie, Chloe, Chelsea, Annabelle, and Amanda H., without whom none of this would be possible.
So we'll be back with another story of vision, resilience, and craft. Because at the end of the day, proof of concept isn't just about spirits, it's about spirit. Until then, please drink responsibly. I'm Toby Blue.
And I'm Jason Rabinowitz.
Thanks for listening.
Till next time, cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Before we wrap, one quick note for our listeners. If you enjoyed hearing Marc's story, there's more to come.
The full tasting portion of 10 to 1 Rum, where we break down the nose, palate, and finish, will be dropping right here on the Proof of Concept podcast feed in just 2 weeks.
Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and we'll see you back then for a deeper dive into what's in the glass.